months. If you would like to leave prior to the live streaming, please do so now. If you have any questions, please contact the Governance Department. So, safety announcements, evacuation details and information are located on the wall near the chambers, to the entrance of the chambers. In an emergency, alarm will sound. Wardens will assist with evacuation from the building. If directed, please evacuate in a calm and orderly manner via the reception area. Go directly to the evacuation point in the car park beside the town hall. The audio and visual recordings on? They are, thank you. And also ask that you please turn your phones to off or onto silence, please. I now declare the meeting open at 3:04 p.m. There's no apologies have been received for this meeting. Acknowledgement of country. I begin today by acknowledging the Palator and Panihia past peoples, the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we gather today, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Moving on to confirmation of the minutes, which is on page 8 of the agenda. The council receives and confirms the minutes of the last ordinary meeting. Would somebody like to move? Somebody like to second, please? Councillor Loader and Councillor Dutton. Any discussion, councillors, before I put the motion? No. Motion, all those in favour, please say aye and raise your hand. Against? That's carried. Thank you. Unanimous. Declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from councillors, General Manager?
There are, Mayor. So we have two declarations of interest today, both from the Deputy Mayor Cameron for items 15.3, which is lease of the Alrain Football Club, proposed lease, sorry, and item 16.2, which is our community grants and sponsorships round 4 assessments.
Thanks, General Manager. So you've got on page 9 the council workshop report, which looks at the workshop on the 25th of March. We then move on to Mayor and Councillor reports, which is on page 11, where the council acknowledgements and announcements. I would just like to pass on my condolences to the family of Rodney Sheriff. Councillor Andy Sheriff was a councillor here previous term, and Rodney was a member of the Deloraine and the Westbury community, and pass my condolences on behalf of council to the family. Any other announcements, councillors? Councillor House, with your mic, thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a quick one, really. In relation on the 21st of March, we held a Meander Valley Harmony Day at the Australian Italian Club in Prospect Vale. Just want to thank the organisers, and hopefully that's the first of many. It's a wonderful way to show support to a diverse range of new members to our broader community and fostering connectivity for new arrivals. And I think it's also great that it was held at the Australian Italian Club, which in itself has done much to welcome new people in the community over a long period of time. So I look forward to many more of those Harmony Days in the future.
Thanks, Councillor. Any other councillor? No? Very good. Thank you. Moving on to page 13, which is petitions. We have item 7.1. We have a recommendation from for the council for that petition. Somebody would like to move, somebody would like to second that. Councillor Loader as a mover. Seconder, please. Councillor Dutton, thank you. Councillor Loader as the mover of the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. It doesn't give me any great joy to move this motion, but I am. This particular matter is causing a lot of angst in our community. It's been to the Environmental Protection Authority, and they have assessed their aspects of the application and have come back as saying that it's okay for it now to come to council, for council to assess the matters that council can assess. I feel that we need to go through the process, and it would be unfair to the applicant not to give them the full rights that they have under the Local Government Act. So that is why I'm moving it. I think it's important that everybody can have their say, and that's why there is the Act.
Thanks, Councillor Loader. Councillor Dutton, second motion.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the members of the community who signed the petition, shared your thoughts with us on this issue. More than happy to have the petition accepted and noted. I think it is important to reflect on recommendation point 3, which says the council won't agree to reject the planning application by this petition. And that is simply because we need to make a legally compliant decision when the matter comes before us at the next council meeting. But that being said, your voices are being heard. I am more than happy to speak to anyone about this issue as my fellow councillors, I think, and we do appreciate that you've taken the time to formally share your views with us.
Thanks, Councillor David. Open up for discussion, councillors. Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, thank you. Just reiterate the words from the other two councillors. It's not an easy task actually to organise a compliant petition. So thank you to those who have gone to the effort of organising this and presenting it to us. We do appreciate that.
Thank you. Anything else, councillors? Councillor Temple.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm concerned about the wording in point 3 or point 3. It's sort of, it doesn't exactly say that, but it almost implies that the wording of the petition is illegal or it would cause us to do something illegal. I'm wondering if there's any other wording that could be used, because it is the word of, you know, there's a great number of people that have, from our municipality, that have signed the petition. Obviously, they don't want the bauxite mine. I also wonder, and I was going to ask the question a little later, have we had any representations from any resident or ratepayer that does want a bauxite mine? And that's a question I'll ask in councillor question time. But I'm just wondering if the wording could be at all different. It just doesn't sit well with me in item 3. I understand the sentiment, but just the wording implies that there's something, to me, that there's something illegal about the petition, and I don't see that way at all.
Yeah. So if you're not happy with the wording, councillor, you can move an amendment to the motion and put it to the floor if you wish. You'll need to do that and then have a second to that motion if you want to change the motion as it sits.
Well, I'd be happy, Mayor, if item 3 was deleted, because we're not under any pressure to adopt the petition or the wording of the petition or not today, I would have thought.
General Manager, response?
Yeah, so thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Temple. So council has a role under the Local Government Act to that I would table the petition, and council needs to determine an action. So point 3 is there to address council's requirements to determine an action, and Councillor Temple, you can move an amendment, I suppose, to determine a different action to what's there, if you so choose.
That's really your only option, councillor Temple, is to move an amendment.
Well, my amendment would be that allow it to lay on the table.
Okay. We capture that amendment.
Allow the petition to lay on the table. Okay, so we'll just get Councillor Temple's amendment on the screen, and then it's not going to come up. Okay.
It's not going to come up. So the council Temple's
amendment would be that council allow the petition to lay on the table.
Yep.
I guess we'll seek a second.
Right, seek a second for that. Councillor.
No, I wasn't. I was raising a question. If I may, doesn't the Act require us to deal with the petition today if we're effectively laying it on the table and not dealing with it? Because we will deal with it next month. And if I may, on indulgence, say, you know, my reason for supporting this as it is that I don't want to see anything compromise our ability as a council next month from dealing with this matter properly, because if we were to support, you know, do the opposite of point 3, we run the very real risk of being disenfranchised, if you like, for want of a better term, in this process going forward. And I don't want to see that happen at all. We haven't seen yet what we will be assessing next month, but you know, it's not to ignore the petition at all. But we've got a very important role as a planning authority coming up, and so yeah, on that basis, I'm sort of happy the way it is. And as I say, I'm not sure that we can just simply allow the petition that we've received to sit there for another month.
Thanks, councillor. You probably jumped the gun a little bit because I probably should have asked for a second to put the motion on the table to speak against the motion. But before we go any further, General Manager.
Yeah, look, I share the concerns that councillor Sinfield has raised. I guess the recommendation that is in the published agenda was written by myself. So, and the reason for that is absolutely not to go against the sentiment that's been provided by those petitioners. I think that myself and everybody in this room will have spoken with members of the public that have signed the petition or are sort of conveying those thoughts. That's not, that is not the recommendation that's before you, but rather we need to form a decision relating to this planning application that is well informed by expert advice and professional advice by those that have assessed the application and responded to it. So we're expecting that to be the May Council meeting. And I think that that is the appropriate time to form an informed decision rather than today on the back of the petition that's been put forward.
Thank you, Jan. Back to the motion that Councillor Campbell has put up. Amended motion. Do I have a second for that motion? I'll take that as no, councillor. So we'll amend the motion lapses. We go back to the original motion, which was mover of Councillor Loader and second of Councillor Dudman. Open up for discussions from memory where we're at. So anything to add, councillors, before I put the motion? Any comments? I reiterate what the councillors have said around the table. Thank you for coming together and putting the petition in front of us. It is no easy task, I'm sure, to go out and get people to sign, but there's passion in it, so we've accepted it and it sits on the table here somewhere at the very moment. So thank you for that. No, Councillor Dudman, second or anything to add?
Sorry, just briefly, I think it's important just to reiterate what we are doing, given the slight delay there. When we are noting the receipt of the petition, we are accepting the petition as compliant. The only thing that we are doing differently is we will not agree to an application, because to do that would potentially rule us out from making a decision on it. And I think, having spoken with some of the petitioners and making a more broad assumption, that those that have signed would like us to actually make a decision when it comes to us next month. So this course of action ensures that their voices are being heard before we get to that point. And again, I thank them for taking the time and presenting this to us.
Well explained, Councillor Loader as the mover.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Dudman, for that explanation. I want to thank all the people who put this petition together. I know firsthand how difficult it is to get a petition together and then have to redo it to make it compliant for council. It is a lot of work, so thank you. While I've got the mic, Mayor, just as an aside, given that we have a really huge amount of people here today.
We're going to have to move to the,
okay.
to the motion.
I can't ask a point of order.
Point of order? We can ask point of order.
No, it's not a point of order. I'll ask a question in question time then.
Thank you.
So yes, I would like to reiterate that this does not bring me any joy to move this or to support it, but it's necessary.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye and raise your hands. Against, that is unanimous. Thank you. Are there any other additional petitions from the gallery? No. Moving on to community representation, which is on page 19 of the agenda. There is a community representation listed in the agenda from Leah Wasserfall concerning Portersbridge Road at Reddy's Marsh. There's Leah.
These are points that the councillors will be having to exercise their discretion on, and that's in relation to the road, Portersbridge Road itself. So just a bit of, because of the limited time, I'll just be highlighting different points that are applicable that have come out of the traffic impact assessment that I think need to be considered carefully. bit of background, though, Watersbridge Road was sealed for residents many decades ago. And the road itself has experienced some creep, some rapid creep. So in other words, different things have begun being used on it, like agriculture and forestry, and then even later, tube quarries. So the traffic on the road has increased from what the original intention was when it was sealed. Currently, there's about 110 vehicles per day that use the road, and about 19 of them are heavy vehicles. The traffic impact assessment forecasts an increase, or has worked out an increase of 112 vehicles over and above that, so it's a doubling per day. And the risk that is highlighted in the traffic impact assessment for accidents, the ABX have reduced that risk seemingly by requiring or suggesting that the road be road markings be painted and that the vegetation gets trimmed, and add 112 vehicles to that. They say that this reduces or keeps the risk of accidents at either low or negligible, which doesn't seem to make much sense. One of the things mentioned, cars and trucks are expected to move over onto the verge when turning into the site. So this causes safety concerns and also pavement breakdown, especially when we consider that one loaded 60-ton truck and dog combination has the same effect on the pavement as 300 to 400 cars. Now, I'd just like to look at the actual planning. This is from the traffic impact assessment. Some of the road and railway asset code. So the traffic generation at a vehicle crossing, an acceptable solution to minimize the adverse effects on the safety and efficiency of the road. There's different acceptable solutions, and one of them, for instance, is to use acceptable solution 814 says vehicular traffic to and from the site using an existing vehicle crossing or private level crossing will not increase more than the amount in table C31. That works out to be 5 vehicles. If there were only 5 vehicles, it would be an acceptable solution. So not too much risk and not too many decisions to make, not too many discretion judgments to be made. But in this case, it's 110 vehicles, and of that, 78 to 80 something will be heavy vehicles. So to then jump to the performance criteria and just have these few points like trimming vegetation, painting the road, etc., to me doesn't seem adequate to address such a jump in the increase in vehicles. Acceptable solution then, one of the other things is that vehicles need to move in a forward direction. If a truck enters the access area onto the site by accident, for that truck to be able to turn around, it has to drive 6 kilometres to the site, turn around there and come back. So it's a 12-kilometre trip if the truck goes in by accident. This is to avoid having to reverse out. Now, the performance criteria, there's it goes up to H. The A said that any increase in traffic, I think I'm over time already.
Only a little bit, but you're right, keep going.
Okay. It speaks about 50 to 70 kilometres an hour in the traffic impact assessment. And this is the speed that were recorded just outside the site. But when they evaluated the safety aspect of that, it seems like they used 30 kilometres an hour to reduce the risk down to the level where if someone is hit by a truck or a car, whether that's a pedestrian or another truck or car, that the risk is brought down to an acceptable level. So there seems to be a mistake in the recorded speed and the speeds that they've used to reduce the risk down to reducing the fatalities. The other thing I'm going to jump to with the attenuation area. Habitable buildings shouldn't be built in an attenuation area. So within 50 meters of an area, so like the junction where they will turn onto the site. But the thing is, there's an existing house there, number 340 Portersbridge Road. We should, I think, be considering those people that suddenly having an increase of 110 vehicles a day, the noise of that, and if they have children at that house, the amenity for that house is going to be terribly reduced. And just the last, the traffic impact assessment guidelines, the traffic impact assessment is based on these guidelines. And these guidelines say that the aim for the assessment is to predict the impact that the development is likely to have on the operation of the surrounding road network, particularly with respect to traffic flow and road safety. So it's not just the junction that should be considered, but the whole road, the road as a whole. And they also say that they should also consider other modes of travel, including bicycles and pedestrians. And we should be aware that that road is used by for bicycles, for bicycle races and things like that, but that hasn't been considered. Then just 3 more points here. They should ensure that the network performance is no worse than it would have been without the proposed development. The next one, it should be noted that the cost of designing and constructing road infrastructure works required as a result of the proposed development will need to be funded by the developer. And the last one is the point I've already mentioned with the forward direction that any vehicle, the truck would not be able to turn around unless they travel 12 kilometres. Thank you for your attention, councillors.
Thank you, Lee. Only a little bit over 3 minutes, Lee. That's all. Bearing in mind we've got public questions time coming, are there any other additional representations from the gallery before we head into public question time? No? We'll head into public question time. So public questions with notice. We had questions with notice received from Mr. Badcock, which are included in this meeting's agenda. We then move into public questions without notice. I will extend public question time because there seem to be quite a few people that will ask some questions. We'll try and keep them going pretty well if we can. You're allowed 3 minutes to ask 2 questions. I'll give the bell at 2 minutes and 30, and then I'll ask you to wrap up at 3 minutes. So if you hear me do that, please respect that. So we'll open up the public question time. So any questions from the gallery, please? One at the back. I'll just ask you to tell us your name and then launch into it.
Victoria Dunleavy from Reedy Marsh. It's of my understanding that the council is currently doing a traffic assessment on Portersbridge Road. My first question is, when this report is finalised, will all of the objectors be notified and forwarded a copy? And I'll say my second question as well.
Yeah.
My second question is, if so, will objectors be given the opportunity to comment and provide feedback to the council on this report before the decision is made on the ABX Group's application?
General Manager.
Yep. So through you, Mayor, that's correct. We have been undertaking work to get a better understanding on Portersbridge Road for, well, it's been going for a number of months actually. We want to make sure that all of the information that's provided to our elected members is, I guess, well thought out and considers all of the, I guess, the current state. And then if there were to be additional businesses on that road, then what the future state may require also. So we have been doing that work. That'll be considered in the assessments for the planning application, which we expect to come to the May meeting of the council. It won't be provided to the representatives. I think that's but the information, I guess, the sentiment and our thoughts, informed thoughts on Portersbridge Road be included in the public agenda, which will be made available online.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, lady from the back coming forward.
Good afternoon. Kirsten Hanson from Delrain. As a resident of the Meander Valley and someone who does regularly travel along Bridge Road, I actually do work, one of my jobs is working in the disability sector, and I have a couple of individual people that I work with. We spend a bit of time visiting friends out through there, hence the driving, and bushwalking and the rest of it. So I've got concerns about the safety of not only myself but others on this road, if the ABX line is approved. I don't think this road was ever made for heavy vehicle traffic, and I think many expensive upgrades would be needed to bring this road up to a standard that's safe for everybody. My first question is, who would foot the bill for these upgrades that we know would be necessary for all these heavy vehicles to come through? And I've read somewhere that ABX, in literature have said that they aren't going to have anything to do with paying for any of those upgrades. So that then leads into the second question: if the upgrade of the area, then as a resident and ratepayer, I don't feel that we should have to pay for something that we don't really want there, which is associated with the company that we don't want operating in that area.
Okay.
Yes, and I think that from what we have found so far with our view on Portersbridge Road is that there is likely to be a smaller number of things that are going to be required to maintain, as council is the road authority, to maintain a safe environment for all road users. So there's that council will be looking to undertake regardless of any change to businesses on the road. So there will be a small amount there. There is an ability for council to recoup the cost of capital upgrades required by development if they are justified, and that will be considered in the assessment that the professional staff will make when forming a recommendation to council. So whilst that's not a decision for today, it's something that it is being considered in the assessment.
Next, please.
Little box full from really much. ABX is not to be trusted. They're a small, ill-equipped company with a dismal track record. They've never paid a single dividend since the company was first floated in 2009. Their shares are worth between 3 and 4 cents each. The only time they've ever operated is the Bald Hill mine in Campbelltown, where they promised 45 full-time jobs. They delivered 1 full-time job. At the Campbelltown fiasco, ABX apparently had buyers choking at the bit, ready to buy 1.5 million tonnes of bauxite. They managed to sell 1/10 of that. They did not deliver on their promises. Now they want to ship our beautiful red soil, our prime agricultural land, to a cement company all the way in Adelaide. Who even knows if that will happen? Whereas Cement Australia is half an hour's drive down the road at Railton, but apparently they're not interested in ABX's product. So that just makes me think. After the Campbelltown fail, Tasrail had to write off $4.8 million in losses from ABX. At Campbelltown, ABX undertook to maintain West Street. I invite you to drive down West Street the next time you go past Campbelltown. It is not to standard. Also, I don't know if councillors are aware that ASIC is investigating reports of misconduct by ABX. This is portraying while insolvent, which makes the directors personally liable. ASIC is also investigating ABX for window dressing their financial report by using off-balance sheet financing. So the government has issued a grant for the Bell Bay recycling project, but ABX have cycled off $2 million from that grant to Bell Bay for working capital. So in other words, for just their general day-to-day running costs unrelated to Bell Bay. Being off balance sheet, there's no security. Being insolvent, there's no foreseeable way that they can pay this taxpayers' money back. ABX has $561,000 in the bank, which you or I would be quite happy with, sure, if we had that in the bank, but this is a mining company. This company owes its employees $2,251,000 in back pay, in wages. Their creditors $687,000. It's only that low because no bank will loan them money. This is after siphoning off $2 million in government grants that they also need to pay back. So it's a shonky little company that exists on government grants and they should not be allowed in Meander Valley. My question is, can council in good conscience allow ABX into the Meander Valley and allow it to dig up our prime agricultural land with a track record that they have on the off chance that they might be able to sell to a company in South Australia?
Thanks. I'll answer that one as best I can. Certainly not going to stand up and defend ABX, but when we sit here as a planning authority and a developer comes in to submit a house, we don't go down the financial paths of whether that developer is financial or not. We look at the proposal that's put before us. So while I'm hearing what you put forward, it's what we look at as a planning scheme. So thanks for the information you provided, but that may not come into our account when we sit here as a planning authority.
Is the company? Sorry, can I?
No, sorry. Sorry, that's a response. Question, thanks.
If I may, the lady was wanting to ask a second question, wasn't she? Or have I missed something?
Sorry, she was up to 3 minutes and a little bit over with the first question, so thanks, Councillor.
Meander White from Deloraine. When I arrived in Tasmania, I lived in the Highland North Sexton and I frequently had Tasmanian devils at my front doorstep and looking in my back door eyeing the cat food. That was in 1997, a year after the Tasmanian devil facial tumour disease was described. Since that time, the population has been decimated, up to 80%. But the human race has risen to the occasion with untold hours and millions of dollars spent on research and vaccine trials and breeding programs and insurance populations. The international effort invested in saving this species has been utterly extraordinary because the Tasmanian devil is recognised globally as a truly unique species. When a population plummets, every single individual matters, and every piece of habitat that they desperately cling to must be protected. So video evidence of devils using DL 130, the site for the proposed bauxite mine, and its surrounds, too, must be protected from destructive mining practices. We must do whatever it takes here and now to ensure the survival of our incredible wildlife. But the EPA's fox in the henhouse approach, relying on selective, incomplete data and short-sighted outcomes to make its determinations, means its assessments regarding our precious animals can't be trusted. We therefore hope Meander Valley Council aspires to a higher standard and wholeheartedly embraces its obligations and the objectives stipulated under Section 5 of LUPA, which include safeguarding the life-supporting capacity of air, water, soil and ecosystems and avoiding any adverse effects of activities on the environment. So with these in mind, I ask, will Meander Valley Council stand up and say, no, ABX, you do not have the right to treat the efforts that have taken decades, involved thousands and cost millions with utter contempt and ride roughshod over one of our most precious and revered species. And two, given the ABX assessment of fauna is unreliable, biased and utterly lacking in any meaningful long-term safeguards for threatened species like devils, quolls, wedge-tailed eagles and green gold frogs, And in the event that this project is steamrolled through for approval, what will the council do to enhance the protections for these and other species and ensure more effective mitigation and management strategies are implemented, monitored and adapted over time to address potential unforeseen impacts? Thank you.
Thanks, thank you for the question. Our planning staff will assess the application as it comes forward, as they do every other development application that comes forward. We have qualified planners on staff, and we as councils have confidence in their ability. So we look forward to the reports that come
But
forward.
are they all experts? Sorry, that's not a big question, but.
Thank you. General Manager,
Yeah, just to add to the Mayor's comments here, I guess the environmental impacts of the application considered by the Environmental Protection Authority as the state government entity. So just making a note of that, I guess quite a bit to your question today, and a lot of the contents of your question really relates to the assessment that the state government has already made, so likely not to be part of the formed decision of our planning authority.
thank you. Next, Chris.
Good afternoon, councillors. My name is Liv Nichols. My family and I operate a beef cattle farm and breed and race racehorses on our property in Reedy Marsh. The proposed DL130 bauxite mine is located only 1.5 kilometres from our home, and ABX's longer-term and poorly disguised aspirations for exploration of rare earth elements concerns us deeply. A clean environment with pristine air and water is crucial for any agricultural business, and surely is the right for all families in the Meander Valley. Under Section 20 of the Local Government Act 1993, Council has a duty to protect the health, safety and welfare of its community. Racehorse lungs, rather like human lungs, need to be clean-winded and are extremely susceptible to particulate matter. The proposed mine will produce a significant amount of different types and sizes of particle from normal mining operations. The Department of Public Health Services commented on the EER, recognising that the dust produced by DL130 has the potential to be respirable and would be capable of causing non-specific airway symptoms such as cough, mucus production, throat irritation and wheezing. Without clear airways, our racehorses will not run and our cows and our families will become sick. Beyond this, the 2021 census indicated an asthma rate of 9.8% in the Deloraine population, with an incidence of chronic lung conditions at 3.4%, with similar rates in Westbury. These figures represent the populations that are already sensitised to the types of particulate matter that will be produced by DL130. It is a significant concern that these disease rates may increase as a consequence of the mine. To date, ABX have not submitted a final or approved dust management plan, and their preliminary plan lacks details in several crucial areas, such as the absence of dust dispersion modelling, real-time monitoring and trigger thresholds and mitigation activities. In addition, many of the strategies to mitigate dust are reliant on culture and reputation, such as halting production during dry periods, reduced speed limits and covering loads. I would implore the council to consider past behaviour and the reputation of ABX's operation in Campbelltown, when many residents had significant complaints about their homes being covered in bauxite dust from the mine and uncovered truckloads. Concerns around environmental management extend to ABX's strategies for protection of water quality. The EER details an assumed groundwater level at 6 metres without scientific confirmation, whilst claiming that a 1 metre buffer above groundwater will be maintained at all times, despite stating that the depth of the mine will be 7 metres. I'd say that's basic maths. Utilisation of undisclosed types and amounts of chemical flocculants and the potential for leaching of heavy metals, chromium, nickel and zinc into runoff water are all significant concerns. So my first question is, in light of the Public Health Service's formal recognition that respirable dust from DL130 poses potential health risks and that no baseline dust data currently exists and real-time dust monitoring is not proposed in the preliminary dust management plan, how can council satisfy its responsibility under Section 20 of the Local Government Act 1993 to protect community health and wellbeing by considering the DL proposal prior to the final and approved dust management plan being made available? My second question is, will council seek further clarification on the schedule and calibration of water quality monitoring, trigger points, chemical treatment regimes and escalation plans to ensure no long-term damage to our sensitive aquatic ecosystems occur as a consequence of the DL 130 mine?
Thanks, Liz. There were 2 questions wrapped up with about 10 other questions in there, I think. I'm going to have to take that one on notice. I cannot give you an answer today that would do it justice. So I'll take that question.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next, thank you.
Good afternoon, councillors. I'm Robin Foster, a Reading Marsh resident for 23 years. My question concerns the principles of health and wellbeing in the Meander Valley. Today, the environmental and livability aspects of our properties in the valley are at a point of critical flux. The decision you make on the ABX application is not just about the ability of a speculative industrial company complying with the planning rules, it's also about the well-being of every person who calls the Reading Marsh and Exton areas home. Well-being, an ever more treasured quality of life, is commendably front and centre of Council's Community Strategic Plan 2024-2030, which it states reflects the aspirations, priorities and values of the Meander Valley community. Further, Council's health and wellbeing policy recognises the physical, mental and social health of its residents and commits to fostering a safe, sustainable environment where people can live, work, thrive. Yet, knowing the well-documented local and worldwide environmental and health risks of bauxite mining, how would allowing a mine in our valley be in any way consistent with Council's avowed principles? How do these principles hold up against the on-site generated dust and diesel pollution? The massive amounts of diesel fumes from 78 truck movements a day, negotiating an unclassified road, along with the existing trucks from 2 quarries. Then onto the rural Meander Valley Road and Bass Highway to devour more diesel and degrade air quality all the way to Burnley and back. One can only imagine the tarmac destruction, our famous potholes multiplying like never before. Councillors, after all your research and the community discontent illustrated by verbal submissions and petition, would it be fair to consider that agreed upon community principles would not be compatible with mining operations? We deserve better than this. You have acknowledged that our health matters. You have stated that community well-being is a priority. Proving this mine would be a direct contradiction to the commitments you have made to protect and enhance the quality of life in the Meander Valley. Councillors, I implore you to stand by our own policies and principles. This is not just a development decision, it's a health decision, it's a community decision, it's a moral decision. Do not sacrifice the well-being of the people you were elected to serve for the sake of short-term profit. Say no to this mine, say yes to the generations to come who deserve our caring stewardship of this beautiful place. What does your heart say? Thank you.
Next question, thanks. There was no question in that, Ron. So thank you for the statement.
Hello, my name is Fritz Robinson. I live in Deloraine, and I have a question. Obviously, sitting on the other side of this, I've worked for the last about 20 years in the mining industry myself. I helped set up an enormous gold mine in Papua New Guinea. Also worked with bauxite in the African nation of Guinea, which has 1/3 of the world's bauxite, actually. Now, on the first of those, the important thing for the people who were trying to set up the mine was the social contract. So they sent people like me in 2 years ahead of a sod being turned, 2 years, and individually spoke with every family. It was a strategy that paid off, and the mine was a success initially. The original plan was upset by the local situation. The area where the gold mine was located belonged to a group of people called the Ibili, and the largest group next door were the Anga, about 10 times their size. And the Anga said God had made a terrible mistake and put the resource in the Ibili land. We'll fix that up because we are somewhat related to it, and we will move in with them. And they did. Consequently, there were prostitution, drugs, violence, death, illegal mining, food problems, all those things which for a valley of 10,000 people would not have happened, but for a valley at that altitude of 8,000 feet, with 50,000 people, it did matter. My question is really, are there unintended consequences by allowing this planning? I understand that council has very limited opportunity to talk about EPA and all that sort of stuff, but it has got planning rights, and the planning must be very careful that it doesn't have unintended consequences. For instance, are there going to be other shonky dealers who are mining the stock exchange who put some mining tenement ideas in the area? We're a very cultured little spot, Deloraine and Westbury. We have the craft fair. We have significant artists who live here. They're not going to come and they're not going to live here if we have a series of mining tenements. Those are the things that worry me. And my question is, simple one, one question, is this the thin edge of the wedge, as I used to say?
Have a,
Thanks for sharing your story and your background, Fritz. I guess by way of unintended consequences, I'd really be speculating if I were going to try and reach to come up with some. I just wanted to be clear though that the decision that our council will be making, that we expect to be made, is really limited to the planning elements and acting as a planning authority. So I know that there is a sort of a number of comments being made today, and fair enough, everybody is welcome to and entitled to share their opinion, but the decision that is going to be asked of our council is relating to their remit as acting as a planning authority. So state that.
Any other questions?
Hello, I'm Robin Adams. I live in Reading. And either a dust management plan or a storm water management plan were included in the original permit application. These were both provided as a supplement after being requested by the EPA. However, this meant that both plans were not able to be commented on because the period for public submissions had closed by the time those supplements were received. This is either gross incompetence by omission or a deliberate tactic to reduce transparency in the hope that we won't notice that ABX intends to drain the entire site, including water from the sediment ponds, with its chemical additives into the neighbouring protected waterways of the Brushy River Conservation Area, which vicariously flows into the Meander River and has the potential to affect all downstream users. The conditions imposed by the EPA relate to monitoring and reporting. These are not preventative measures. Is council confident that the proponent can fulfil its due diligence under the Environmental Management and Pollution Control Act, which requires that the proponent prevent, and that's the word I highlight, prevent environmental harm? So my question is council confident that the proponent is capable of doing their due diligence by preventing environmental harm?
Thanks, Robert.
Yeah, I guess I look to our planning professionals, but I don't believe that that's an area that council has any power to influence. If I look at the planners, if there's any comment that would like to come from our planning department, but it's not something where we have a head of power to act within. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's correct.
Yeah. So, next question, thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you for the opportunity to talk. My name is Rafe Waymont, spelled Ralph Waymont, unfortunately. The brilliant NBC strategic plan, which has been designated as the council's highest level planning document, and the new brand strategy reflect the collective aspirations of the Meander Valley community, underscoring the importance of environmental stewardship, sustainable development, social equity, healthy lifestyle, safe roads, and the protection of our natural resources for future generations. Welcoming and agreeing with the strategy, as the Meander Valley community does, makes it impossible for us to accept the proposed ABX bauxite mine and any rare earth exploration of Reedy Marsh. The ABX mining proposal itself is riddled with half-truths, inconsistencies, and errors. It is a classic product of a financially failing company with a bad history in mining who are desperate to use the proposed bauxite mine as a doorway to enlarge rare earth mineral mine and an increase in their share price. ABX aim to send the bauxite to South Australia and the rare earths to America. Tasmania and the Meander Valley community has absolutely nothing to gain from the bauxite mine. No income, no secondary industry, nothing, just pollution. As a group, we have spent hundreds of hours, and some of us are quite smart, not like me, others, studying and analysing the details of the ABX application and EPA's conditional approval. As a result, we have a host of reasons why the ABX proposal and EPA's response are flawed. My first question is, being able to ask questions at council meetings is great, but is there any way that we could organise an in-depth consultation and discussion between our team and the NBC planners to go through the myriad of issues in detail? This month, the Meander Valley Council has a unique opportunity to safeguard the community's safety, values, tourism, natural resources, and long-term well-being of future generations by evaluating the ABX mine proposal using the principles outlined in the strategic plan and sustainable development processes. As the NBC strategy says, our planning services ensure appropriate development which protects and enhances the natural and built environment. That's what you bring. Now's your chance to prove it, to prove there is some point to the strategy. So my second question is, apart from your obvious concerns about the likely damage to our roads and danger to drivers and wildlife caused by trucks, will NBC also apply its discretionary powers to uphold the NBC strategic plan and negate EPA's conditional approval of the ABX proposal.
Jim, to make comments on that, and
Yeah,
part of
sure.
it is operational.
Yeah, look, I'll just answer the first one. Does council have the ability to negate the EPA's conditional approval? No, we don't. They have formed their decision. We don't buy into the decision that's been made by that organisation. So that's the first one. The second one, look, I can't commit to a meeting today, Ralph. What I'll sort of say is that we will contact you. I know we've got your details. We'll contact you if there is an opportunity to. I know you said that some of your network there has been pouring hundreds of hours into the application documents, and I can understand that is a complex and a substantial amount of information there. I guess I would echo that and say that our planning staff has also been pouring hundreds of hours into the assessment in order to form a detailed assessment and recommendation to our councillors for when they sit to act as a planning authority. And I know that that work is still ongoing. They've been doing a great job and they'll continue to do so. However, I do feel as though the position that they will reach is likely to be close to the council meeting date anyway. So if a recommendation and a position had been formed today, certainly no hesitation to sort of share some of that with you, but I do feel as though we also have Easter, which will kill a fair amount of time also with public holidays between now and then. So I know our team is working quite hard to make sure that when it comes to a public agenda being released in advance of the May Council meeting, that we're getting everything there and available in a transparent manner to the representatives and also the members of the community that are interested. So that's definitely going to be there, but as far as the meeting, we'll let you know if there's an opportunity, but I dare say it will be working right up until the production of our agenda to make sure that it's as detailed and as informed as we can make it.
Thanks, Jen. Any other questions?
It's Marion Curtin from Deloraine. It's just a few questions. One big question actually, but it's to do with all of us because we belong in the Meander Valley. If this goes ahead, it will affect the Meander Valley, and we all know how unique this little valley is with its resources. It doesn't need something destructive coming to it. But the one thing I am concerned about is that if this is delayed, if this continues on the way it is, there's a big black cloud, not only on the community, but on the council or the Department of Assessment Planning. Once that goes through, you will have no say, which means the community will have no say in what is happening in this unique little valley. Do you know, have you gone far, is there any communication to you about when this DAP is going through and how much it's going to affect you? I know that a lot of councils are against it. What is your opinion on it?
Yeah, well, further on in our agenda today, we will be talking about that said legislation.
You'll be talking
We'll be talking about the legislation that is proposed and council's position and forming a position on.
Okay.
So we are across it. We have talked about it in workshops. We have talked about it. Yeah, we are very well across that. Thank you.
Okay. So I get a horrible feeling that there may be less that we can do about it because of the way it's being bulldozed through. That concerns me.
Yeah, I can just make a comment on that, Marion. So the DAP, the Development Assessment Panel legislation is proposed by the state government won't have an impact on the planning application, which is PA 240052, which has been raised by a number of other members here because that application has already been lodged under the current legislation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the decision will not be taken out of the council's hands then? Is that what you're saying?
No, we are expecting the decision on that particular planning application to come to our May council meeting next month. And that would mean that our councillors will be asked to sit as a planning authority and form a decision on that application.
As the planning department is at the moment?
Well, the same, in the same manner, acting as a planning authority, as we will be making a decision today on item 12.1, planning authority 250085 for vegetation removal at Jackie's Marsh. So in the same manner, that's right.
Okay, we will see. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Catherine Wilmot.
Sorry, can I just have your name again? Sorry.
Catherine Wilmot.
Thank you, Catherine.
What they said, because I'm looking, there's a lot of great things that it may overflow a little bit, but I'll just read what I've got. I respectfully submit the following question to the council regarding the DL 130 bauxite project proposed by Australian Bauxite. ABX, these questions seek clarity on how this industrial project aligns with the long-term strategic planning vision that we have worked on. Values, financial responsibilities and well-being of the wider Meander Valley. Question 1 is about the community benefits and alignment. Can the council identify the specific economic, social or infrastructure benefits it believes the DL 130 bauxite project will deliver to the Meander Valley community, and explain how this aligns with our community strategic plan and council's rural brand identity? And I just put a little extra thing which includes just tourism, and then I have noticed that there's been no mention of any Indigenous sensitivities. That's not been brought up at all. So I know there is a few concerns about that. Question 2, financial impact on the ratepayers, which has sort of been said, but has council assessed the potential cost burden this project may place on ratepayers, including infrastructure upgrades, road maintenance, emergency, health and emergency services, compliance, and can it confirm whether any part of this development will require direct or indirect funding from the council budget, which you may have already answered, I'm not sure. But and just a quick little note on the EPA, which we've read in great detail. There is a lot of vague terminology which fuels suspicion, and the self-reporting is full of holes, and it is quite dangerous and can be misused. Yes, it's vagaries. In other words, what my original question would be, in simple terms, can you tell us the benefits, if any, and try and sell it to us?
We're not here to try and sell a development application. We sit here as councillors that are elected by the community to represent the community, but part of that election process, legislation tells us that we have to then sit as a planning authority. And there's rules by which we sit here as councillors when we act as a planning. Well, that's fine. So I guess to answer your first question is, are we here to sell it? No, we're not. We're here to look at everything on its merits. And you talk about the strategic plan. Yes, as councillors, we develop the strategic plan with the community and we put our whole heart into that. But when we sit here as a planning authority, we wear a different hat.
Yes, I understand. Maybe we can obviously all see disbenefit, bad things about this, but
we just
it's not a debate, but I'd like to try. It's not a debate, so
no.
But I'd like to try and answer the second.
There's got to be some positives, not from my point of view, so maybe there's, and where does the profits go? I'd like to know.
Well, we don't know that, but John, you comment to that? Comment.
To answer the second question, you asked around cost assessment. So the only cost assessment that council has been reviewing is the work that we referred to earlier around Porters Bridge Road and what work is currently required on Porters Bridge Road and what work would potentially be required if the application were to be approved. So we've been doing a level of cost estimate around that so that our councillors are more informed when we talk to them around the infrastructure and specifically the section in and around the application on Forest Road there, that road in particular.
Thank you. Any other people with questions, please? Yep.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Nick Van Amstel. Going to deal with Porters Bridge Road. It's not designed for the truck and dog trailers that ABX proposes to use to transport this mine bauxite, and it will require significant, not minor, upgrading to ensure that it's safe for road use and the pavement doesn't fail prematurely. Most of Porters Bridge Road, particularly between the bridge over the Meander River and the proposed mine entrance, is too narrow for the mine's truck and dog trailers to pass and has inadequate sight distances, resulting in line rises at the corners. Council has an obligation to ensure Porters Bridge Road will be safe for road users if it approves the proposed ABX mine. However, as a ratepayer, I believe that ABX as the proponent and the cause of the increased road safety risks, not Meander Valley Council as ratepayer, should be responsible for all costs to ensure Porters Bridge Road is safe for all road users if the mine is approved and the line traffic begins using the road. Yeah, in summary, if council approves ABX's proposed mine, there should be a condition of approval that ABX will be responsible for the costs of upgrading Porters Bridge Road to comply with the Austroads guidelines, in particular structural pavement design and the geometric design, with payment to be made upfront and upgrades completed before the mine is developed. Okay.
Was there a question in that, Nick, Dave? Thank you. Questions from the gallery?
I wasn't intending on actually asking a question today, so I'm going a little bit blind, so sorry. Good afternoon, everybody that's contributed and supported and worked long and hard hours. Absolutely everything that you've said, I totally agree with here today. I have sent an email and it does sort of very outline those sorts of things. Just very.
You just have to tell us your name if that's all right.
Oh, sorry, Jenny Rundle, Reedy Marsh.
Thank you.
I do have a question and it is coming and I'll try and be quick. We relocated here to the Meander Valley a little over 8 months ago, Tasmania nearly 4 years ago. We looked long and hard for what we wanted as being our long-term residential and with a view to also contributing to the community and in some way, shape or form, perhaps a business of cabins later down the track. We thought we found our beautiful place at Reedy Marsh on the river, the beautiful Meander River, 20 acres, perfect. This is going to be great. I have now sort of thought, oh gee, my safety on the road seems to now be in doubt. It's those trucks do come through pretty quick and I have been run off the road on an occasion. I'm now also worried about my health a little bit. I do suffer from asthma and I am rather close to where the proposed mine might be. You know, will I, suffer in my health? I also came to Tasmania for its unique fauna, its environment, your animals. It's a beautiful place. I honestly cannot see the benefits for this beautiful area that this mine proposes. So my question is, and it's probably a little bit selfish, but now that I'm in doubt of my health, my safety and my retirement, is there any councillors that might like to buy a nice house at Reedy Marsh? Thank you. A few nice houses.
Thank you. Any other questions from the gallery? One more, thank you. Pull it down, just, that's it.
Labrador from Chudley. Everything that everybody has said. I do know that the council had a planning committee. I myself have been partial to it. Is the planning committee really up to date? I know they're reading the application, but is the planning committee totally up to date with the environment, with nature, with the bicycle riders, and any accidents that may occur? I have spoken to people from around the Deloraine area and from the Chudley area and from the Reedy Marsh area. Over 80% of the people that I have spoken to are against this mine. The council is our representative, and I do know that you only have 2 questions that you can approve of with this application. But you have to look into the deeper part of it, the whole effect that it is going to have on the social community as well as the immediate community and the animals and our environment with the air and everything. It's not just a question of planning. It is a question of the council works for us, and you will find that the community, the whole Meander Valley, is basically against this. Tasmania has been targeted as the next food bowl of Australia. We are agricultural. We are not mining. And mining isn't put into an area where it is. I know Walters have just recently opened up another quarry at Needles, right? But there is mining in that particular area. We don't need our precious minerals taken away. We don't need anything else taken away out of the soil that grows our food, that feeds our cattle, for our milk, for our children. My question to you is, what is the council going to do about it for us? We pay you, we work for you, and we pay our rates. We do not want this here. And the planning aside from the whole lot, the council is there and obligated to be able to do for the community, for the health and the well-being of the community, not just for us today, but for the generations to come. I'm 73 years of age. I will probably be dead by the time this all comes to fruition. But what about those I leave behind? You know, and what about the food? Gums was bad enough with the water coming out into the chemicals coming out into the water. I now have to have a filter, a Japanese filter on my water, so I'm not drinking it. I have MS, right? And I have to watch out for the chemicals and stuff that I have. This mine is going to bring a hell of a lot more shit, if you pardon my expression, a whole lot more shit into the community, as well as our animal and livestock. What is our council going to do for its residents? Not just the planning, it's the overall picture. You are obligated as a council to act for us. Otherwise, we'll vote you out, we'll vote in somebody else. Now, I'll bring in the newspapers. I don't care what it is. We do not want this here. Newspapers and coverage will do it.
And you guys live here. I don't get it. I mean, I know you're not.
No, I won't take that. I won't take that in government. Sorry. And look, threats aside, we are ratepayers. We are ratepayers.
Yes.
We've lived here all our lives, some of us. We are community members.
Yeah.
We are part of the community as well. You seem to be talking to us. No, sorry, I've got the floor. You seem to be talking to us as if we are somebody else. We are not. To get back to your first point, we don't have a planning committee. We have a planning department. We sit here as a planning authority when every development application comes before us. We assess things on the guidelines that are given to us by the state government. State legislation, not council legislation, not legislation made up by anyone else. State legislation. So please don't, I didn't like your tone towards him, I'm sorry. I know you're passionate. but we too are ratepayers, landowners and residents.
And then you live at Reading Marsh.
No, sorry.
And then you live at Reading Marsh.
Well, is that irrelevant though? Because Meander Valley is an area that stretches from Prospect to Lyana to Meander to Mole Creek to wherever. We are community members. So thanks for your questions.
My name's Cindy Watkins, I live at Reading Marsh. I moved here. I moved back to Meander Valley. I'm actually a long-term resident of Meander Valley. I grew up here. I moved away and I come back 3 years ago because I love it. And I picked Reading Marsh because it's beautiful, it's quiet, and it has massive amounts of animals and wildlife and bush. I moved there for the peace and quiet. So now I find that maybe that's not so, because I don't live far from where the mine's going to go. So according to a study done through the University of Western Australia, it was found that residential properties located within 2 kilometres of an open cut mine trade at 20 to 30% discount to similar residential properties located at least 6 to 7 kilometres from the mine. Will the council consider the probable devaluation of our properties in their decision to approve the mine at Reading Marsh? And what steps will they implement to stop this from occurring to us? Thank you.
Yeah, and look, that's one that comes up often in all sorts of planning applications that we're talking specifically about the mining one now, but you know, what's occurring in and around the house that you live in, it's hard not to think about what it means to me. No, council can't consider property devaluation when it's sitting as a planning authority informing that decision, but I guess, you know, I think the sentiment and all of the sentiment from today, our councillors are aware of. They have heard a lot of it to date over the last, I'm going to say 6 months, in the discussions that they have had, but thanks for coming and sharing your opinion. But no, it's not going to be something that will influence the decision specifically relating to the planning application that's being discussed.
Thank you, and I'll pull question time to a finish. We've gone for 55 minutes. So thank you for your questions. I'll just say, so those who ask questions today, could you email a written copy of your questions to ogm@mbc.tas.gov.au by tomorrow morning? Or if you've got handwritten questions, could you pass them on or leave them to Anthea as you walk past? That would be good, so they can be included in the next item, next agenda. Moving on to councillor question time. Those that want to leave, please, if you want to leave now, feel free to, before we head into the next item.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm here with you. Thanks, Anthony.
Side that wants to come in, they feel free to come in. No, you're right. You're right. Sorry? Not yet. No. It's frustrating. Very good. Okay, councillors, moving on. Councillor question time, page 22. Councillor questions with notice. There were, excuse me, none received for this meeting. Councillor questions without notice. Councillor Loader.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 questions today. One is, given that we've just had a really large public gallery about the proposed bauxite mine, can the May council meeting be held in a bigger venue so that anyone who wants to come can be accommodated? For example, the town hall or the supper room, perhaps.
Thank you, General Manager.
So as a management group, councillor, I can let you know we've discussed that, and at the moment, I mean, we have had a council meeting that I can recall, which had 100 people attend, and what we did in that instance is what we currently plan to do, which is to have our council meeting here as normal, and then have a overflow section seating at the Westbury Supper Room, which has the microphones linked to here so they can hear the discussion, and we'll prioritise any representatives or anybody that would like to ask a question to come forward and ask that. So the downsides that we considered of moving the venue would be that there would be no live streaming and the microphones wouldn't be active. So we found that at this stage, that's what we're expecting to do.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. And my second question is not about that topic. At the October 2023 workshop, as reported in the November 2023 agenda, Council had a presentation about the state government's deer management programs. I've noticed new signage in and around Hadsburn to Prospect Vale area that says deer. Has Council had any updates about the deer management program? And if not, can we please request one?
I do recall the workshop discussion that you mentioned there, councillor. We had our representatives from the state government's NRE come and to discuss their intended plans. I guess since then we have had some legislative change in that space from the state government. That was since, I think you said October 23. So there has been some legislative change, of which the state government has communicated that with us at various points in time. As far as the new signage and what that means or why that has come about, personally, I haven't received anything formally that I can recall, so I'm not sure whether it's a more widespread series of events or not. I couldn't tell you, but I did obviously notice that the signs have gone up on the Bass Highway in our area, which is good to see.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Temple.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got three quick questions. The first one is, I don't know if I've missed it, but have we had any representations or communications from residents or ratepayers that are in support of the proposed bauxite mine?
I've had verbal support to myself, Councillor Temple, but I haven't had any written to myself, no.
I just wondered, you know, if there was a balancing argument that, or if those that are in support are silent if they are there, that's all.
I can, councillor. So, yep, probably there has been some members of the community that have been indifferent to the proposal, not necessarily in support. We had, today we have an item, bear with me, sorry. Item 16.3, an economic development forum following a workshop that we had in February, which was really good. And at that forum, we did have a member of the state government that spoke that they were in favour of the economic development, the economic impacts that they believe it's going to have a positive effect on the area. So that was one that I can recall.
The second one is, this application, I believe, is for bauxite. If there are other minerals on the same site, are they allowed to extract those under this application, or would they have to apply separately for that?
I can't answer that, Councillor Temple. I'm going to throw it to somebody that might be able to.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Brent Jones, Town Planner. My understanding is that the Mineral Resources Tasmania licensing and permitting would dictate what can and can't be taken off site. However, we can look into this further.
And my third question, which is probably a bit obtuse, but as ABX is a public company, and I'm not aware of other public companies making applications in my time, or not greatly, or not any that has been of as much concern within the community. How would any of us know that our superannuation wasn't invested somewhere in that company? and therefore giving us a pecuniary interest? Or doesn't that matter? Or yeah, so I just wanted to ask this well ahead of time, not for it to come up on the day.
So I guess I'll answer that.
I'm still thinking of the answer, John, so please do.
Yeah, well, it's up to each individual councillor to be aware of their financial position and where that money may sit and determine whether they have a pecuniary or a non-pecuniary interest. So it'll be up to each councillor to make a determination on.
I'm a farmer, Councillor Temple. I don't have any superannuation.
But those that do, where it's just in the, there's some managing company that does it for an industry or whatever, how would they possibly know where it's invested?
Oh, well, I guess that you go back to your superannuation fund and you ask them for a list of where your investments are. I guess if you potentially sat here as a state or federal member, you would have to obviously declare that. I don't know.
And also the council would have to consider the level of control that they have over that organisation or their financial interest in that organisation. And I expect that will also have an influence on whether they feel as though they have a conflict or not.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I have raised this privately, and given we have a couple of members here from Reedy Marsh, the EPA decision is one way or the other, depending on how council views us and how we might end up voting on this matter, to either approve or reject the bauxite mine or things ancillary to it. What is the representatives' rights in, or do we have any insight as to the representatives' rights in terms of appealing to TASCAT going forward? Are they able to appeal both the portions, if you like, that EPA have approved and what we might either approve or reject? So either way, either the company having the right to go to TASCAT because we've ultimately rejected it, or that we've approved it and the representatives can appeal to TASCAT. Either way, we end up in the same place. Do we have any information from our planning department, for example, as to what range of things the representatives might actually be able to appeal going forward?
I can hear you, but not do you want to leave?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Director of Development and Regulatory Services. Any part of the permit and the decision made by council is appealable in TASCAT. So the EPA decision forms part of our permit, so that is appealable through the TASCAT process.
Thank you.
Thanks, Director. Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Sorry. So I've had a couple of residents of the Carrick area raised with me around FOBO and maybe feeling like they didn't have the opportunity to participate in the survey. And I believe that they did. I'm just wondering if council could just run back over the consultation process of that, just for the benefit of those that are feeling that they weren't able to participate. I know we had a really good forum after the last workshop, which helped answer a lot of questions for myself and those present, but for those that weren't, it might be just beneficial just to run over that consultation process again.
Can we take that on notice, or you want to answer it now, Jude?
We're just answering it now, just to clear that one, but I'm aware that every property owner was written to and asked to provide us with their response, councillor. So I just asked the Director of Infrastructure though to, I guess, elaborate on that a little bit more, because there was website landing pages, social media also. So if it's
Yeah, thank you for your question, and through you there. Switch microphones. Yes, as the GM stated, letters did go out to the residents two times. And there was opportunities to view the council's website, engage with council officers as well. The response rate was reasonably significant for the residents of Carrick, so we saw it as good engagement, but it's obviously, there's some people that miss the engagement, but to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? Take that as no. Okay. Moving on. It's been a question day today. Page 23, council notices of motion. So, need a second. So this is council notice motion, councillor Emery Loader, committee meeting against the draft land use planning and approvals development assessment panel bill to 2025. Okay, okay, you'll be moving this, councillor Loader. Thank you. Oh, I better write on this one, not that one. Hang on. Seconder, please. Councillor Dudman, thank you. Councillor Loader.
Thank you, Mayor. On March the 27th, there was a public meeting in Deloraine for people concerned about the state government's development assessment panel legislation draft 2. There were 65 people at the meeting and they passed 2 motions, which are noted in the agenda. In a nutshell, basically, the meeting asked council to reject the DAP legislation, and today this motion is simply to note that that meeting occurred and that those motions were passed on the floor of the meeting. There is a record of the meeting on the Planning Matters Alliance website, and that link is noted in the agenda.
Thanks, councillor Loader. To councillor Dudman, as a second.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't consider this to be an overly contentious notice of motion. Thank you, councillor Loader, for attending the meeting, as I think other members of council did, and for bringing back the information that was provided here. As councillor Loader said, it's just noting that the meeting was held, so obviously there is a level of community interest around this matter, and the 2 motions that were moved, without reflecting on what council's position may be in about half an hour. But I imagine that those who move the motion at the meeting will be pleased to see that we are soon to be debating the DAP legislation again here.
Thanks, councillor. Open up for discussion, councillors. Councillor Sinfield.
Yes. Tongue-in-cheek comment. Has there been anything in the media or any pronouncements by the state government that they might abandon this process, given the debacle over the, or as some would say, debacle over the stadium, and the fact that that assessment was being done by the same august body, the Planning Commission, and that as soon as the report came out, people berated it and said that we now need to see that assessed by the state government. So effectively, a DAP panel of the Planning Commission came up with that report, remarkably similar to what they're proposing here. So the government wasn't accepting of that answer because it didn't suit them, let's be honest, and they're persisting in version 2, almost unchanged, of a process that gave them an answer they didn't like. So there seems to be an inconsistency there, pursuing this and not liking the answer if it doesn't suit them. So I would suggest the way forward, which we'll be dealing with, as councillor Dudman said shortly, is have not a bar.
Thanks, councillor Sinfield. You had a question in that, I think, from memory, and I haven't seen anything in the media that says that the government's going to change, or from memory, I think it passed the lower house last reading. So both sides of Parliament passed it in the lower house last time. It was defeated in the upper house. So that's where it may well end up second time. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Just wondering, as this wasn't a meeting of council, so was there an attendance log registered or any minutes provided to yourself informing this notice of motion?
Not to myself, no. General Manager?
No, not to myself either.
So I'm relying on,
So I should say, you're right, it is a meeting of planning matters, sorry, a meeting convened by Planning Matters Alliance Tasmania, sorry if I've got the wrong PMAT. And I actually wrote, once I received Councillor Loader's notice of motion, and whilst we haven't received anything as a council formally or in writing, the contact there did confirm the two motions that Councillor Loader has given us and to note today were those that were discussed at that meeting. However, we don't have anything formal.
okay. That's the one at the moment. Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Temple.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to note that, that I was there and there were around 65 people there, as mentioned in the recommendation, but only a number of them came from other areas, so it wasn't purely Meander Valley residents and ratepayers. Not that that has any great bearing on anything, but just to make everyone aware.
Now discuss, councillors. Nope. Okay, Councillor Dubman, second on the motion. Nothing to add. Councillor Loader, is move the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to reiterate that this is purely noting that the meeting happened and that those motions were passed. There's photographic evidence on BMAT's Facebook. There's also
65 people.
Oh, I'm sorry, you interjected halfway through a sentence, Councillor Cameron, and didn't let me finish my sentence. I'll start again. There's photographic evidence of the motions. There is maybe not all 65 people in the photos, but there's definitely photographic evidence that there was a crowd and that every chair in the Rotary Pavilion was used. You can take my word for that or choose not to. But as I said, this motion is purely to note it. Thank you.
Good. On the basis, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye and raise your hands. Councillor Dudman, Smedley, Temple, Sinfield, Loader and House, and against. Now Johnson, Cameron and Cronshaw. Thank you. Motion is passed. Moving along, in planning matters, council acts as a planning authority under the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993. So we've got a planning authority report, which is on page 27 of our agenda, which is for 310 Sugarloaf Road, Jackie's Marsh. Do we have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor House, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Dudman, thank you. Councillor House has moved the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I'll be voting in support of this. It's for removal of.
Well, hang on, what's up, Jim?
Yeah. Sorry, Mayor was sort of addressed.
Oh, sorry, it was a bit quick.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll look at
There's an adjustment.
No, that's correct. Yeah. So, in advance of the meeting, the discussion that we have had pointed out to the councillors that there was an appropriate change that was required in the planning condition, which is planning condition number 3. And that was a change in the number that stated in condition 3, where it says refer note 2, and that would be refer note 3. And I know that our councillors have discussed that prior to the meeting, but I just wanted to state for the public record that there was a change required in that, and that's what's been moved and seconded.
Thank you, James. Sorry, Councillor House, to cut you off there.
That is noted. I'll be voting in support of the application. It's been very well covered, I think, by the planners. Thank you to the two representatives, I think it was, that stated their cases in it. But I'd like to thank the planners for their very thorough overview of this application, also their advice for removal of vegetation in the area. Also noting some very strong conditions that are likely to be on the permit. So I think that these are very clear and thoroughly considered to improve visualisation with minimal impact is the most likely outcome. So to me, I'm quite happy to support it.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Dubman, a second on the motion.
Thanks, Mayor. Likewise, I'll also be supporting this. I'm appreciative of the views provided by the respondents to this application. But note that although this is a significant change to the way the land currently is, and will lead to a change there, it is largely compliant with the performance criteria and the planning scheme. And even where there are options for us to provide discretions relying on performance criteria, I think the biggest concern to me is the cast management area, which under 5.7.1 has been considered low sensitivity, and that is something that I certainly accept. So overall, whilst I understand that there has been a level of concern provided by the community, I think that on balance, this application should be approved by council today.
Thanks, councillor. Open up for discussion, councillors. No, councillor Temple.
Yeah. Just on page 27, the applicant seeks permission for point 1, removal of vegetation up to a height of 3 metres. I don't understand what that means or how you support vegetation above 3 metres if you've taken every one thing away below 3 metres.
Oh, excuse me. So,
am I being silly here or
no?
That's a question to throw to the planners.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The applicant in some of the application material there identified their process for clearing. And so I guess the point trying to be made there is that it's vegetation of up to a height of 3 metres. So yes, there are trees taller than 3 metres, but they will be left standing. It's more about that low scrub sort of vegetation, trying to open up the space.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? No? All right, okay. Another questions? Councillor Dudman, anything to add? Second, Councillor House, anything to add?
Nothing to add.
Right, put the motion, all those in favour, please say aye, and that is unanimous. Thank you. For the remaining agenda items, council no longer acts as a planning authority. So out of planning. Moving on to development and regulatory services, page 137. Somebody like to move, somebody like to second this one, please. Councillor Loader, thank you. Seconder. Councillor Dudman, thank you. Councillor Loader, floor is yours.
Thank you. I commend this motion to my councillor colleagues to approve. The development assessment panels are a dangerous step in the wrong direction. It takes planning out of the hands of local elected reps, and while I know when we're a planning authority we have to act under the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act, which is 32 years old, but still, as we've seen today, I'm not sure how many people were in the gallery, over 20 I'd say, they were able to eyeball us, they were able to tell us what's what, they were able to communicate with us in a real way because we're here where they live. And to take planning matters and selective planning matters at that and put them in the hands of so-called non-political panels is just a step away from democracy. It's not democratic at all. It's downright scary. And this latest draft, I feel, is just a time-wasting draft that's taking up precious time in Parliament, which I'm sure that our state representatives could be using better than trying to take away planning decisions from councils when it's already working really, really well. Tasmanian councils approve things very quickly compared to mainland states, and even faster than some states where DAPs already exist. This is just rubbish legislation, time wasting. It puts developers at the top of the list. It puts community at the bottom. And I really implore all my councillor colleagues to look at this through the lens of the community, especially in light of what we've just seen today, and endorse our submission.
Thanks, Councillor Loader. Councillor Dudman, a second on the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with the councillor's comments. Look, the amended version that the state government has released, really, I think it's encapsulated well here. It does not provide any tangible difference or anyway, that it is improving upon the legislation that it initially brought forward and put through the House of Assembly, where it was defeated in the Legislative Council. I found it unfortunate that it did pass the House, because I don't see this legislation as being beneficial to our state, to developments that are coming forward, and to planning for the local community. And that's where my interest lies on this issue. I don't believe the community supports this, and I don't think it benefits the community in any way. I believe that planning should remain at the local level. I think that planning here has its challenges, as we've seen and as we've discussed time and time again. And I'm not opposed to reform, but a reform that would remove local voice altogether, which is what this proposes to do, is not something that I can abide by, and it's not something that I'll support. So I'm more than happy to support the recommendation and endorse the submission from council to the Tasmanian government. And I would certainly make the point that when I first ran for council, some in the community suggested that I just tell party line. My response to this point is, well, what's this then?
Thanks, Councillor Nutter. Open up for discussion, councillors. Councillor Sinfield.
Simply ditto to councillor Dudman and Loder's earlier comments, and I refer you back to the erudite and cogent comments made by councillor Sinfield a couple of agenda items ago on the same matter. Thank you.
That's the shortest response heard from councillor Sinfield on panel. Thank you, councillor. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. I thought I had longer to plan my response, councillor Sinfield, but you threw it at me. I just want to apologise to you, councillor Loder. I shouldn't have interjected. It was poor form of me. But look, I have often been different of this view, and that's because I do think there is merit in discussing DAPs. Do I agree with this proposal? Not overly, but I do think that there is merit in it. And the reason I think that is because I think about the people that filled this room here today in the council chamber, and I think about the questions that they've asked, and I think about the role that I want to play, and I want to help you. I want to be loud and help you and talk about the things that are happening in our community, but I can't because I have that other hat of the planning authority, which, listening to the questions today, I don't know if they've fully grasped at how serious that role is. So I don't support this just based on that. My feeling is that there is merit in discussing DAPs. I do thank Thomas and the rest of the team for putting the effort into this response, because it is very detailed, and this isn't signifying any, that I feel that you're not doing your job, because I think you are, but this is just my view on it. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Cameron. I'll reiterate, I guess, the comments there about Thomas and the planning staff putting this together. We do sit here as individuals making decisions that affect the livelihoods of our residents and our ratepayers. There are times when I think that some of the items should be taken away from us potentially, because they're far bigger than a farmer sitting at the head of this table at times. I was lucky enough last week to sit with my fellow mayors in Hobart and discuss this proposal, and there's no mayor that sat around that table, and there weren't all the mayors of Tasmania who were there. I think it was 19. We object to most parts of this. If the government had been genuine in their attempt to reform, they would have consulted the local government sector far widely than they have. They would have listened to our planning departments in all councils and taken the good bits out of those and come up with a bill that was good for all Tasmania. I do fear that this bill will get through. I do fear that this bill will pass the upper house second time. But we've made a strong stand, the same as Legat has made, the same as other councils around the state have made, and I'll happily support this motion. Councillors, any other comments? Councillor House.
Likewise, I'll be supporting it as well, Mr Mayor, but I really think it's been an interesting discussion around the table, and thank you for your comments and Deputy Mayors as well. I think there's a lot to consider here, but in this particular instance, I think it says quite clearly here that that this draft has not meaningfully changed or resolved the key concerns that have previously been noted. I would like to have seen some of those resolved, quite frankly, but I don't believe they have. So that's my position on this one.
One more comment?
Yeah, it's just, I just want to agree, because I do think that the timeframe thing is sort of the problem for me. Imagine if we'd had an actual decent, proper discussion about it.
Yeah.
I think that's, yeah, I agree with what you said, what both of you said around the timeframe. It's never been something that we could work on, and probably other councils have worked on a really limited timeframe.
I guess I'd go back to Councillor Sinfield's comments before in the previous item where you talked about, was there any media regarding the state pulling out of the stadium? The state has abilities now through projects of regional significance, projects of state significance to do potentially what they want to do. So I guess, yeah, anyway, again, I agree with what you were saying as more consultation, but at the end of the day, I don't think they would have listened to him. But anyway, you've got to have that will to listen and to change. An old man once told me, should listen to all the advice that's given, but it's up to you whether you act on that advice or not. No, I'll take that. Leave that with that sage of knowledge. Councillor Temple, you've got another sage of knowledge.
Well, just to follow on from what you're saying, the model they have in Switzerland, where people vote every fortnight or every month, whatever it is, on things. So it's basically a plebiscite, and then it goes to their equivalent of a parliament. But they know precisely what those that have registered to vote on these fortnightly plebiscites have to say about things. And it's a whole process where it's got to go through the canton government and then the national federal government.
We're a long way away from this. Any other comments, Councillor? If not, I'll go back to Councillor Nate. Happy. Councillor Loader has moved the motion. Happy to put the motion on. That's sure. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for the discussion, and I do appreciate that we can have differences of opinion, and that is what a democracy is. I believe that this is undemocratic because of the way it's been pushed through, and it silences the voices of community. Appeals rights through this stamp legislation is absolutely diabolical. At least if someone wants to have an appeal now, they can go to TASCAT. This just basically takes away everything. And I don't see that as being a step forward at all. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, say aye, raise your hands. That's Johnson, Cronshaw, Dudman, Smedley, Infield, Loader, House, and against? Sorry?
No, I was having my hand up.
You did have your hand. Well, you didn't have very far. But Councillor Temple was in that for as well. Against? Councillor Cameron. Thank you. He did exercise a bit of that, John. Did up a little bit fine. Righto, moving on. We will have potentially a break at 4 or 5 o'clock. General Manager, if that's all right. Corporate Services, financial reports to 31st of March. Who's that? Craig. Somebody like to move? Second, Councillor Dudman. Page 201. Second, Councillor House. Councillor Dudman is mover.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm more than happy to take most things here as read. I think it shows that we're in a sound financial position. Our projects are getting completed as they should be. There is one item there that I think will be raised in the question, but I might leave that to Councillor House.
Thank you. Councillor House, your turn.
Thank you, Councillor Dudman. Yes, agree with all that. Certainly, it's good to see that the revenue and expenditure are in line with the management expectations. That's always good news. And I appreciate, I think we all do, how thorough this reporting is. I think it gives us a lot of comfort being able to go through that report in such detail. I have one question only. It had been touched on before, just prior to the meeting, but just for public record, there was an item there for the Dinans Bridge Road at Wadena that was a reasonable amount over budget. I know that there was a reason behind all that, but just for public record, I just wanted to have a little bit of clarity on that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Director of Works, Matthew Millwood. Thanks, Councillor House. Yeah, look, just for those people listening, in attachment 4, we're talking about project 6223. The situation is that that's a carried forward project from 23-24, and there was a balance of a budget line, which is part of a broader program that was applied to it in 23-24. This year, we haven't yet provided reallocations out of the program to the projects in the rural reconstruction delivery. So there's 3 of them, and you'll notice that there are 2 other projects that have a 0 budget line against them with considerable expenditure as well. They come out of a program budget of $1.2 million or just under, which is line projects 6697. And the 2 that I mentioned also are Westwood Road and Oaks Road. Those 3 projects in combination make up just under $1.1 million. So the projects have been delivered and completed within budget of the overall program, but we haven't yet brought the item to council to reallocate, which we'll do before the end of the financial year. In terms of that particular project, probably one of the more difficult ones that we've delivered over recent times. Just the general topography of the area is very steep, and the cost per kilometre of reconstruction is probably 20% greater than what would be a typical rural reconstruction job across council, and that involved because there was embankment work that needed to be broadened out, which came at a considerable cost. There was relocation of electrical infrastructure, telecommunication infrastructure. It has 3 intersections with other public roads that needed squaring up. So in all, that was probably an additional $150,000 of work associated with those aspects of the job, up and above what would be a typical project that we would do with the rural reconstruction. So that's why it accounts, when you look at the budget lines there, it's over $750,000 for about 1.3 kilometres of rural reconstruction.
Thank you. Open up for discussions, councillors. Anything else?
Well, thank you, Matthew, for the explanation, and well done. I think it goes to show a couple of things. Firstly, how thorough the explanation has been, and how that's been explained. Also, just lines on paper or numbers on paper don't always indicate the amount of work that's involved in these projects. And I just want to thank the Works Department for their efforts all around. It's just a question really to determine how our Works Department has to operate under those sort of situations. And sometimes you're going to strike things and they're not always easy to see in the first instance, I guess. Thank you.
Good. Any other questions?
Matthew runs away.
Stop, Matthew.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree with everything you said, Councillor House. I just wanted to raise the disability parking on Emu Bay Road. I know we've talked about this a few times, but how's that tracking at the moment?
So I'll do my best, and please feel free to jump in, David, if you wish, because this is a project that's also across the infrastructure directorate as well. We had a report which identified existing disabled parking spaces up the Emu Bay Road and also opportunities for additional. That report really just looked at the best places to put them. It spoke to a little bit around some of the challenges, but it wasn't a design report. So we've had another consultant who's currently undertaking design work for ways, as I understand it, and that's about midstream between the bottom and middle roundabout on the northbound lane as you come down the hill, I suppose it is. If those who are familiar with Deloraine, on the northern side of Emu Bay Road in the main street between the bottom and middle roundabout, there isn't any disabled parking bays. They're all on the left as you go up the hill. So we're certainly looking at an opportunity to put something midstream initially between those 2 roundabouts on the northern side of the road on the downgrade lane. Will it be delivered before the end of the financial year? I believe potentially not. they're finalising some aspects there, and it's likely that it'll be carried forward. And the construction will be done in the very near future, but not necessarily before the end of 30th of June.
Thank you. No questions, councillors? No. Councillor House, anything good?
Thank you.
Councillor Dover, no. Motion, all those in favour, please say aye, raise your hands. That's unanimous, thank you. We might take a 5-minute break. General Manager, please. House. Yeah.
We need an award at the AGM for Lucy for being.
Yeah.
Just outlook doesn't happen anymore.
Righto, councillors, let's go. So we're on page 222, infrastructure services, lease, Bracknell District Boys and Girls Club Incorporated. I'm after a mover and then a seconder, please. Councillor Dublin, was it a hand? Good, thank you.
I haven't done
Councillor
anything.
Cameron, no, you haven't done much to say. Councillor Dudman as a mover.
Happy to move it as it is written. The only question I will have, which you're welcome to answer now or later in general, is the level of communication and consultation that has occurred with the club. Are they happy with this? And ideally, to save 5 minutes' time, I will hopefully take whatever the answer is as read for the other 2 items as well.
Thank you, Councillor Dudman. Councillor Cameron, I'm just going to go to you and then we'll go to Carl to answer that question, if that's all right.
No, I'm happy to proceed.
You're happy to proceed? Okay, Carl, there was a question that was put there for you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Carl Ross Walker, Team Leader, Community Facilities and Recreation. Yes, all parties were consulted. The building is shared between the Special Hall Committee, the Boys and Girls Club and the Football Club. They were all in the same room when it was discussed.
Thank you. Ed, follow-up question, councillor?
I was just going to say, Carl, the club is content with the proposed conditions of the lease. This is part of what Councillor Dutton's question was.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, the clubs are all happy with the conditions of the lease.
Thank you. You didn't say anything as a seconder, did you need to, councillor?
That's a great facility. Thank you.
Open up for discussion, councillors. No. Quick one, Councillor Sidfield.
Yes, just to clarify that the lease for the gym has been given to the Boys and Girls Club, but are they working in amicably with the other parties that use the overall facility, such as the football club, etc.?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, councillor, they are.
Very good. Any other councillor Temple?
I don't know if I've overlooked this or it's already there written, but are they incorporated bodies or not?
Yeah, everyone's nodding their head, say yes, no. Anything else, councillors? Councillor Cameron, the second on the motion, yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Dudman, nothing Brad, put the motion, all those in favour, please say aye, raise your hand. That is unanimous, thank you. Page 225, which is the lease for the the Bracknell Football Club. Dudman, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Loader, just by a hand, over Councillor. Councillor Dudman.
My comments on the previous one.
Thank you, Councillor Dudman. Councillor Loader.
Very happy to support this and thank you, Carl, for all the work you do liaising with the community.
Councillor House, anything to add? A second?
No, obviously support both this and the previous motion. I think it's a great little community of Bracknell, and I think it's terrific in each case that they continue to punch above their weight. It's great. The football club does a lot in the community, and also the previous motion with the Boys and Girls Club Incorporated. I think it's great that they're active. They're not on their devices, they're actually out there in the gym and keeping themselves fit and mentally healthy. So, well done to Bracknell overall.
Thanks, Councillor. Over for discussion, councillors. No. Anything to add, Councillor Loader? Councillor Dudman? Nope. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say raise your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to page 228, which is Delaware Football Club. Same type of situation. Councillor Cameron, just. Councillor Dudman as the seconder. Councillor Cameron as the mover.
I do have questions, but I'm happy to. Do you want to ask them now or do you want me to wait a minute?
No, just move. We'll ask them in a minute.
Okay.
Councillor Dudman, anything to add?
Otherwise, you can go back to.
Okay, back to you, Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask a question around the way the lease between a club like Deloraine Football Club lease works and how it's calculated versus, say, the earlier motion with Bracknell. Just obviously a difference in cost. And just wondering if you could help explain that to me, please. Through you.
Look, Jam's taking it on to start off with.
Look, just I guess at a high level, we're describing the process that David and Carl's facilities team has undertaken. So they're reviewing a number of leases in order to try and get consistency in the way that they are formed, and for that to be in line with council's recreation pricing policy, which is a stated policy of council. So that review has been undertaken. Now, I guess I'll ask Carl to talk about the specifics of these Bracknell boys and girls, the Bracknell Football Club and the Deloraine Football Club. But that is the idea. We have a methodology within that sort of determines how those leases have been formed, and the price that we would be asking of those user tenants to contribute towards the cost of the facility. But however, Carl, I guess specifics around those three.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, councillor. As the General Manager stated, we work to a pricing policy which we're looking for 11% rate of return on each of our facilities, and that 11%, that rate of return is calculated from the depreciation and also the operating costs of those facilities. We look at a 5-year stretch of time and average them out over that time, and then that delivers our number. Over the past 5 years, the Deloraine Football Club's operating expenses have been about $21,000 per year, as opposed to the Boys and Girls Club and the Football Club combined being about $6,500. And when you multiply that out, that's where our difference comes in.
Thank you. So effectively, it's a larger footprint as such. Costs more to maintain the building space. No,
it's not necessarily the footprint. Okay. It's the costs associated with council
maintaining. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions, councillors? I guess we should note for those that may be listening for the first time that we made a decision 2, 3, 4 years ago, whatever it might be, to cut the costs to our sporting clubs in the municipality by 50%, so that they are given a step up or a helping hand. So it should always be made aware, I suppose, for our sporting clubs that we've given them that rate cut or that help. So I guess we do get referred at times to why we don't do what Dorset does. We shouldn't mention Dorset around these tables perhaps, but they got a new council in. But Dorset don't charge their sporting clubs, but the general public pay for it in additional rates. So it's one or the other. So I'll make that comment. Anything else to add, councillors? If not, Councillor Dudman, anything to add? Sorry, Councillor Smedley? Sure.
Yeah, just through the chair, just the space at the bottom of the, or the top of the picture as it is. Can you just explain what that is?
The Deloraine Football Club? Daniel?
Yeah, just relation to Deloraine one.
That's the stables, the old stables that was Rolls as stables.
So they're leasing that as well? Is that good?
Yeah, so that's right. We had a long-term tenant that used those stables for a long time, a very long time, and that changed about 3 years ago when the family relinquished the lease for that area, for that building. So the football club came to us, I'm going to say around October 2023, and asked if they could use that facility. So we gave them with some conditions that we wanted them to undertake before they would consider an appropriate level of occupation. So whilst they haven't, I guess it's an addition. So that's a new piece for this lease, which is different to the football club's previous lease. So that's right. By council approving this today, we will be giving them a right to use that under the lease agreement, but that also comes with certain conditions. So the recommendation, there's clauses in recommendation 3 that relate to the structure and having appropriate permits and making sure that those facilities would be safe for use of the club and for meeting purpose. So there are some conditions. That's right. It's a new building being included this time around for the lease.
Just to clarify, so what they intending to use it for?
Sorry, I can answer that. They've been using it as a gym.
Intending to use it as a gym.
Yep.
Yeah, like it's a training facility. So they have started to form up the front section as you walk in, which I don't know what you would call that, the south west corner. As you come in off that entrance, they're forming up a small gym area in there, and then the stables bit as you progress through there to be a more open area that could be utilised as a training area, but that hasn't been finalised. And as I was going to say, it's not something that's finished at this point in time, but something that they intend to use as a facility.
Well, our discussion, councillors. Yeah, if not, Councillor Dudman, anything to add as second, Councillor Cameron, anything to?
No, thank you.
For the motion, all those in favour, please say aye. Raise your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to page 231, which is governance, community wellbeing. We'd like to move, someone would like to second. Councillor Dudman, Councillor House. Councillor Dudman.
Thank you. Just it is positive to note that the vast bulk of what we are striving to achieve, it's either been achieved or is well and truly progressing, which is a wonderful thing to see, and a sign that our staff are doing a great job in what they're doing. Of course, there are some deferrals that have occurred there, and as you can see through the agenda, they largely relate to items where we've had a change of tackle process, which means they aren't as relevant, and we are moving forward in a different way. But overall, I think it's a good sign of the work that's being done in the Meander Valley.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor House, the second on the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Totally agree. It's an excellent snapshot overall. 40 operational activities, 35 achieved or progressing, with 3 deferred. So council is well and truly achieving its stated objectives. So well done to them all.
Councillor House. Discussion, councillors. Take that as no. Take it as read. Anything to wrap up? Second and mover and seconder. No. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Raise your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. Over the page for me. Page 245. Community grants and sponsorship fund. 2024-25 round 4. Someone would like to move. Someone would like to. Councillor Loader. Second, Councillor Dudman. Thank you. Councillor Loader.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a privilege to sit on this committee and discuss the applications as they come in. They're there in the report, and I'm happy to support, obviously, that we approve this funding. There's been some very robust discussions, both in person at the recent meeting and through email seeking clarification. And I'm confident that what we're proposing there fits our guidelines.
Thank you. Mr. Dudman, seconder.
I concur with Councillor Loader. I think it's great to see the range of different organisations and individuals that are coming forward for support, especially, organisations like Cause who do an amazing job in our community, the Knoll Creek Progress Association as well, with work they're doing on the local pool. When we get to general discussion, as soon as I stop talking, I would like to ask regarding the 3-year Show Society funding, which is now its 3rd and final year, what council is likely to do to continue to support both the Chudley Westbury and Deloraine Show societies into the future.
Question asked. Answer from.
Yeah, I can have a quick comment, and then perhaps the manager, community wellbeing, like to talk as well. Look, Councillor, to answer why that's set out separately, it was actually on the back of a standalone decision of council. So we had a standalone decision which formed that up in isolation. So that's why we sort of say this is the 3rd and final year. It's the 3rd and final year of executing that decision. What the funding of that looks like ongoing, I guess, will in part be determined in council's budget estimates, which we're about to move into. So council will be forming their budget, which is planned for the June council meeting. But by way of inclusion in today's agenda and the review of the policy, perhaps Nay to comment.
For you, Mr. Mayor, thank you, General Manager and councillors. I think it's just a bigger picture, like John's saying, around the budget decisions. We have had a look at, I guess, this idea of funding across community groups for events and ongoing. We are talking about that within the community grants policy review, so we can kind of open that up again. But yeah, I guess the idea is for council to have a look at it as a budget decision. Yeah.
Thank you. Open up for discussion, councillors. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. This is one of my favourite things that we do at council, and I miss being on grants committee, and I miss being able to be part of the planning and decision making of these excellent community grants. I think it's evidence that a little bit of money can go a long, long way to some of these small community groups. But I don't think either of you get enough recognition for the work that you do pre-meeting and all of the work that you do with the community groups, all of the background information. We appreciate it so much. And Ali, we've heard lots of wonderful things about you in the community, so thank you very much. Yeah, it's a great, we love community grants, and I'm looking forward to the item coming up. So thank you.
Very good. Anything else, councillors?
If I moved or second, I can't remember.
No.
I moved.
Yeah, you moved it. So I'm just, and on that basis, I think, Alison, tomorrow might be your last day, is that correct?
Thursday.
Thursday. Well, thanks for your time and effort.
That's a bit nice.
Hopefully we'll see you back, but no time lucky. No, seriously, thank you for your time and effort. As has been noted around the table, we do appreciate the time and effort that both you and Nate and others put into this. It is a worthwhile part of council, and hope things go well for you at the next posting. All right. So back to nothing else, councillors. Councillor Dudman, anything to add? No, Councillor Loader, anything to add?
Stole my thunder.
Oh, sorry about that.
Say a special thanks to Al for all her hard work. Just you know, you've gone above and beyond, and you will be missed. Fortunately, we've still got Nate, and we've still got the amazing Amy as well. And the, you know, the front-facing people at council. I participated in one of the Learn, Connect, Grow activities on Sunday, and people were just like, wow, this is a free activity arranged by council. And there was Amy joining in, working away. And you've been there, was there with you when you were sizzling the sausages last week at the health centre. So thank you. Thanks, Anne. Topic, sorry.
No. I didn't intend to steal your thunder. Okay, put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to 49, Economic Development Forum report. Someone would like to move, someone would like to second. Councillor Dartmouth, thank you. Seconder, please. Please. Councillor House, thank you. Councillor Dudman.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I was more than happy to move the motion at the February meeting last year that created this Economic Development Forum, and I think, well, unfortunately I wasn't able to attend on the day. When I hear it was a great day and a great benefit to the community. As it says in the document, we now have 5 priority areas that we can pursue to continue to support sustainable growth and development in our municipality, and I think that's a positive step forward. I think council should be taking an active role in supporting business and supporting economic opportunity in our area, because that means we can develop a brighter future for our constituency. Mayor, when we do get to general discussion, I would like to ask General Manager what his views were on the Economic Development Forum, because I'm interested to see what he thought. But otherwise, I'm happy to hear the council.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor House is the second on the motion.
Thanks, Mayor, and well done on having this for the community. I noticed your 5 priority issues. I think they're very well outlined. I also like to make a point also about the population and settlement change in Meander Valley. I mean, there's a lot in this document. There's a SWOT analysis in here, our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, our threats. So many things I think are in this document. I've found it really interesting reading, and I would urge everyone that gets a chance to have a look through it, see where our settlement, where our growth is, where our ageing demographic is, how it varies from location to location. It has a real bearing and a real impact, I think, on future considerations to council. With aged care, with childcare, a whole range of things. There's just so much in this document. And I've read it a couple of times already and highlighted a lot, and I'll be looking through it again. So I would urge everyone to have a good look through it as well. It does explain a lot of things about our municipality, and by and large, very, very good. The opportunities that we have far outweigh our threats, but we've got to be aware of them all. And I would urge everyone to have a good look through that document as well. But well done on having this seminar, it's great.
Councillor, General Manager, questions been asked?
Yeah, well, thanks for the question, Councillor Dudman. I guess for me, well, my thoughts are a number of things. I guess I enjoyed the discussions with the people that attended. It was great to see quite a few people coming and sharing their opinion and their experience in Meander Valley. So I enjoyed that. I also valued the report that was received from the Tas Policy Exchange. So as Councillor House said, it sort of echoed a number of other things that I have been hearing within the community, but also regionally, Northern Tasmania and statewide as well. I guess I can give you an example if you like. The Mayor and I attended the NTDC's priority projects launch for the federal election last week, and I know that one of the priority projects put forward Northern Tasmania as a region is around the childcare desert and where the gaps are, asking for funding around a federally funded program to do some investigation around that, where the pinch points are and what can be done to address that moving forward. So look, I guess I just highlight that. My other thoughts are from a Meander Valley Council perspective. It's a shame that it took quite some time to get to be able to host the forum and to find an appropriate coordinator that could deliver on what we were trying to achieve there in line with your original notice of motion, Councillor. However, it also is highlighting the fact that we are not resourced to be able to undertake economic development functions currently. So, you know, that would need to be something that we would need to consider in the future if we're going to continue to be more active in that space. So, for us personally as a council, that's potentially a gap if that's where we want to go. So, look, there's many things that we could do in and around economic development, and I know that we do a bit more in the tourist sector than some other industries. However, it was great to have a range of people in the room to hear what's important to them. So there's some of my thoughts.
Very good. Anything else to add, Councillor?
So much question. I think just to be succinct on that, it means that you thoroughly enjoyed the forum and you thought it was a great idea. I think it's right now.
I think I can answer to the GMP. Yeah, probably not as enthusiastic as you're putting it.
I think in hindsight.
Hey, hindsight's a marvellous thing.
In hindsight.
Okay, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. I note that the motion has 2 points. I've just gone off that page, isn't that true? To endorse the forum report and to share it with state and federal ministers. Is it going to be published on the website for the community to read as well?
I'm not sure what discussion was it, workshop, so it wasn't there, but I don't think there's any, we'll have to gauge councillors' input, but I don't think there's any real reservation at this point around sharing that broadly on the website.
Thank you. Because a number of people who attended the forum have asked, when are we getting the results? When are we getting the results? So that would be good. I mean, I can point them now to the agenda, obviously.
Can I just say something?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and look, it's just to let you know that The people that pre-registered for the forum actually received one of those attachments as a sort of pre-reading and information in advance. So the people that attended have actually received quite.
Thank you for that clarification. I just want to say I'm really pleased it's happened. I thank Councillor Dudman for bringing the concept to council. I think it's really good. Something that, as a representative on the Great Western Tiers Tourism Association for council, that comes up all the time is that the businesses associated with that would love to see council have a designated business development officer that can help them with their business. And I know you've just said that we're under-resourced, but I think that would be something that we should really be considering to help our businesses here in the Meander Valley.
So just to clarify, I didn't say we were under-resourced.
Oh,
No, it's just a bit clear. Our council has made a positive decision to not be active in that space.
Thank you.
So whilst we support in a whole range of ways, planning and that sort of thing, we don't have a resource, and that's a conscious decision, previous decision about it.
Councillor Fields.
Yes, Councillor Temple and I did attend that forum and it was a good day. There was a bit of thought or a bit of conversation afterwards that maybe more time could have been allocated to, future things that we might do as a community, but on the whole, it was an excellent, well-run day.
Very good.
So it would have been better if Ben had been there?
It's always better with Ben.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll move along. Anything to add? If not, Councillor House, you second that motion? Councillor Dudman, you move that motion? All those in favour, please say aye. Unanimous, thank you. Page 283, appointment of Councillor Cronshaw for the Australia Day Awards Committee. Someone would like to move, someone would like to second, please. Councillor Cameron, Councillor House. Any discussion, councillors?
I'm very supportive of it, and I think it is a great committee, and we have some great things come out of it. So I think Councillor Cronshaw will love it.
Very good, thank you. Councillor House.
Well, as a member of that committee, it'd be great to have Councillor Cronshaw on there as well.
Very good. I imagine there'll be no other discussion, so if not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. That is unanimous, thank you.
Councillor Cronshaw didn't vote, Mr.
Didn't she?
No.
Oh. Against? Sorry. You can vote for yourself.
Oh, I can.
Yes, of course you can.
Vote then.
Thanks, Councillor Temple. I missed it. I assumed that she voted.
For me, I didn't
No.
right to vote on it.
Look bad if you voted against it. Or really, so.
Yeah.
Okay, unanimous. Moving on then to page 285, which is review of policy 82, community grant sponsorship fund. Somebody like to move, Councillor Dudman. Second up. Councillor Cameron, thank you. Councillor Dudman.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I think a lot of work is going to this, and Ali, for the work that you've done here. It is a pretty significant document that details coherently the policy as it's good and ensures that we are moving forward with our, sponsorship and funding in a way that is clearly understood and is equitable for the community access. So I'm more than happy to endorse.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you for the work that's gone into this, and like I say every time, I'm seeing the work that our Nate and your team put into our sponsorships and grant funding every time we go through this process, and I know that we've been able to reflect on some of the things that work well and haven't worked well, and where we'd like to see community grants and sponsorship go into the future. And I think that you've done a great job of assessing that and putting it into a document, and it certainly moves with these times, and it's a great outcome, I think, for the community, so thank you.
Councillor, open up for discussion, councillors. If any, Councillor Loader.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm particularly excited to see that individual sponsorship money is going to be doubled. I think that's fantastic, because anything we can do to help our local sports people and other competitive people to attend their special events. I think that's great. I like the fact that there's been a lot of study going into this and the grants on offer are reflecting the needs of the community. So I'm very happy to support, and as I said earlier, it's a privilege to be on this committee.
Thanks, councillor. Was that a hand up, councillor?
No, councillor freezing.
Working on the Antarctica.
Ah, a bit cold down there in the room.
In the frame.
I see. Okay, any other discussion, councillors? If not, put the motion, all those in favour, please say aye. Check councillor Cronshaw voting this time. Yes, she is. Against? Thank you, that's unanimous. Move the motion to close the meeting to the public. Somebody like to move, someone like to do it. All the hands up everywhere. Councillor Dudman, councillor Loader.
Even Lucy for the hand.
Motion, all those in favour, please say aye. Everyone in attention, please say aye.
Yes. Happy.
That's unanimous. Live streaming and recordings off.
Bye, Ali.